Next on ABC 7 to 10 Weekend.
You just hear the screaming. That's it. And the screaming was like a woman screaming, like a sharp woman scream.
Neighbors reacting tonight after a stabbing lands one in the hospital. Two others also hurt at the scene. What police are telling us this evening.
Plus, a drive-by shooting overnight leaves a Sunland Park woman shot and in the hospital. What we've learned about the gun used, police telling us this was not a random act. And in Storm Track weather, Iris.
Well, it was a nice start to the weekend, and we'll continue with these nice temperatures tomorrow, but storm chances are ahead. We'll talk about that coming up.
Plus, a man in his 50s recovering tonight after a serious forklift injury. What we know this evening.
Plus, the Red Hot Miners, they're back at home looking to do something they haven't done in 11 years. Start off 4-1. Could they do it? Those highlights are now just moments away. ABC 7 at 10 Weekend starts right now.
Live, where news comes first. From the Mesilla Valley and Las Cruces to El Paso and the borderland. This is ABC 7 at 10 Weekend.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for ABC 7 at 10 Weekend. I'm Kate Beery.
And I'm JC Navarrete. New at 10, one person stabbed and another recovering from their wounds in El Paso's east side. Police telling us this all began as a domestic disturbance.
Emergency crews on the scene since noon. The stabbing happened on the 1300 block of Trudy Elaine Drive. You can see that's near Zaragoza on East El Paso.
Right by I-10 East, and that's where we find ABC 7's Rosemary Montañez. Rosemary, we understand an arrest was made earlier this afternoon. What can you tell us tonight?
Well, Kate and JC, that's right. An arrest was made earlier this afternoon. That happened in Vista Granada Street. That's just a few blocks down from where we are at, Trudy Elaine. That's where the stabbing actually happened. But I spent the afternoon speaking with neighbors. They tell me that this is mostly a quiet neighborhood, but obviously many of them are still shaken up by the violence that happened right down their street.
I'll call my husband to come home. Yeah, because it was just like, wow.
Neighbors on edge after their neighborhood was flooded by police. One stabbing reported and another two people hurt in what police are referring to as family violence. Our cameras rolling as one man was taken into custody. The quiet neighborhood covered in crime scene tape. Police monitoring the area hours after. Ashley Gutierrez lives a few houses down from where the stabbing took place. She tells ABC 7 she heard screams.
You just hear the screaming. That's it. And the screaming was like a woman screaming, like a sharp woman scream. And it went on for like those 5 minutes, and then it stopped, and then it screamed again, and then it stopped.
Neighbors reacting to the stabbing happening so close to home.
I guess just knowing like there's, things like this happening in a home right down the street from where I am, like it's scary. You know what I mean? It's just being so close. It's literally like three duplexes down.
I was like, what's going on? Because nothing happens in this neighborhood that like so close.
Benjamin Mendez described this neighborhood as quiet. He called the incident surprising.
I have a little daughter. She's 4 years old. I watch her all the time when she's playing outside, but you just never really know. So it is quite worrying to see something like this so close to home.
It's a little scary knowing something like this happened on my street. This street's very peaceful. There's never any crime that I've seen or heard of. I've been here 3 years, and it's very peaceful.
Police cleaning up the neighborhood hours after. And the El Paso Police Department is still investigating. As soon as we learn more details, you'll see them on air and on our website, kvia.com. In the east side, Rosemary Montañez, ABC 7.
All right, Rosemary, thank you. Also new at 10, a Sunland Park resident has multiple gunshot wounds after a drive-by shooting. This happening at about 2 a.m. Take a look at your screen here at this map. A shooter with a high-powered rifle fired more than 20 rounds at a home on 1st Street and Edgewood. And that is according to Police Chief Javier Guerra. Now, the police chief did say that the victim's home was targeted. It was not a random attack. One of the people inside was hit twice, once in the chest and once in the back. Thankfully, that victim did survive and is now recovering at a hospital. Police have yet to announce any arrests here. Investigators have also not released a motive for this attack.
Back in El Paso, a man was seriously injured by a forklift this morning in the Lower Valley. A spokesman for the El Paso Fire Department confirms it happened at the Old Dominion Freight Line. That is on the 300 block of North Clark Drive, which is south of Trowbridge. The man injured in Old Dominion was in his 50s, according to the fire department. The spokesman said he was injured but not impaled. A pallet fell on the man, hurting his face. We don't know any more details about the incident, but once we do, we will update you on air and online at KBIA.com.
Well, we do take a brief pause from these headlines and give you a look at this picture-perfect shot here. Absolutely beautiful weather all day long. Iris, you can definitely feel a hint of fall there in the air. Kids still playing baseball and softball, though, because the weather's that perfect, whether you're going out for a bike ride or maybe just a walk. There definitely is something about fall in the borderland. It just feels so fresh and crisp outside.
Yeah, you could feel it, you could smell it, and our temperatures today were just right. 81 was the official high. So there was definitely plenty of people outdoors, and for tomorrow you can continue to be outdoors because our temperatures are going to be around the 80s as well, and dry conditions are expected. But we did have those temperatures in the lower 80s, so if you are stepping outside right now, you might need a light sweater. I always need a light sweater with temperatures in the 60s. 68 is what we're sitting at here in El Paso. 64 Las Cruces, dry conditions all around and clear skies. For tonight, we'll remain with those mostly clear skies, and 59 the expected overnight low here in El Paso, with 52 for the Las Cruces area. So for tonight, we'll continue with those nice fall-like temperatures. Tomorrow, another great afternoon, but for the week ahead, storm chances will make a comeback. I'll let you know exactly when, coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Iris, thank you. What were you doing in the fall of 2010? Maybe you were listening to TikTok by Kesha. Yes, I did look it up myself. It was the song of the year. History repeats itself because now in 2021, we're stuck with a different type of TikTok. This time it's an app like this on your phone. I digress because the biggest thing that happened in the borderland in 2010, they were the Miners and that hot start. That was the last time they were 4-1. They had a chance to do just that tonight. So for that, we go to Nate Ryan. Nate, would history be repeating itself once again here tonight at the Sun Bowl?
JC, thanks for the history lesson. That's right. A win over Old Dominion would put the Miners just 2 away from bowl eligibility. You need 6. The Miners looking for win number 4 tonight against ODU. Hey, if UTEP wants a blueprint, though, for how to win, they certainly brought in one of their own who they could give a pretty good idea from them. That's Emmanuel Career, fresh off a gold medal at this summer's Tokyo Olympics. 800 meters, the Kenyan sprinter signing autographs for fans. UTEP was up 17-0. They blew that lead. ODU came back to take a 1-point lead, but in the fourth, Dion Hankins on 2nd and short inside the 10-yard line puts the Miners up by a touchdown. They would get the 2-point conversion. This was just moments ago. 4th and 6 for ODU. Jadrian Taylor comes up from behind and sacks Daryl Mack, giving UTEP the football right back. This one is about a minute away from going final. UTEP needs one more first down, and then they're able to run this clock out all the way to win number 4. I'm going to get back to the end of this one and hopefully give you the full highlights when it's all said and done coming up in sports, guys.
That's exactly what we're looking for. You've got us covered. So does Adrian Ochoa. One more thing I'm afraid to ask. What were you doing 10 years ago? Were you in high school, Nate?
I got to get back to watch the highlights, JC. We'll catch up later.
Yeah, he's teasing us. We'll get right back to Nate coming up in sports. Thank you for that, Nate. In the meantime, an El Paso icon turns red. You may have noticed yourself. If not, here's your chance. Check it out. Take a look at your screen. We are talking about that beautiful star on the mountain right there. This month, the El Paso Chamber is raising awareness to issues like domestic violence, fire prevention, and Red Ribbon Week. El Paso's DEA office, along with the fire department, joining forces here to bring us that red star. The DEA invites everyone in El Paso to commit to living a drug-free life.
When you gaze at our beloved star this October, please join the DEA and all the partners represented here to commit to living free from illegal drug use and medication misuse. Commit to learning the sounds of fire safety, to speak up about domestic violence, to raise awareness about it, and to support all the survivors of this devastating but all too common issue.
Now, for those of you at home that don't know, Red Ribbon Week started after the death of DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, who back in 1985 was killed by drug traffickers he was investigating in Mexico.
A motorcycle crash tied up traffic this morning in El Paso's Lower Valley. It happened after 9 a.m. on Alameda and Yarborough. According to a police dispatcher, one person was sent to the hospital with minor injuries. When our photographer arrived on scene, we actually saw a damaged hearse. It appears as though it was involved in the crash. You can see police diverting traffic while investigators work to figure out what happened. Thankfully, just minor injuries to report in this crash, but still tying up traffic in the Lower Valley. Fears of contracting COVID-19 on the job motivated workers across the country to retire early this past year. But ABC 7's Katie Frazier met a local educator who made the difficult decision to retire as she battles long-term symptoms of COVID-19.
Leonor Terrazas was a faculty member at Escarate Elementary School for 36 years.
Oh, that was home. Yeah, second home.
A flexible member of the staff, she taught PE, math, and helped wherever she could, including being a crossing guard. Then her life changed.
My daughter and I both got COVID. First her and then me. And 10 days later, I have asthma, so I couldn't breathe well.
After driving herself to the hospital and staying there for 3 days, doctors sent her home with oxygen. After testing positive for COVID-19, Terrazas was forced to take leave from her school.
I left my kids. I didn't get to say bye because I had to stay home and get better.
But Terrazas has had some encounters with her past students in recent months.
She goes, "Oh my gosh, come see us, and you know, we love you." And I go, "Oh, I love you too, guys. I love you too."
She still deals with heart and lung issues, but is taking care of herself and hopes to get involved with working with students in the near future.
So when I can do that, I already talked to the principal where my grandson goes, and I'm excited to hear that she says, yes, I need you.
Katie Frazier, ABC 7.
Our thanks to Katie for that story right there. Back here in El Paso, it was a hero's welcome at Las Palmas Medical Center.
Welcome.
Doesn't get much cooler than that there for Dr. Richard Purcell. He's back from a 3-month deployment in Afghanistan. Nurses and staffers greeted the orthopedic surgeon as he returned to the hospital. Dr. Purcell is an active duty Army surgeon in Afghanistan. He cared for the victims of the bombing at the Kabul airport. Dr. Purcell has served since 2008, and here from KVIA All of Us, we thank him for his sacrifice and his service overseas.
Absolutely, and an El Paso native was named the Texas Dentist of the Year. Our congrats to Dr. Richard Black. He was nominated by dentists in El Paso and honored with the prestigious award this week. Also the founding dean of the Hunt School of Dental Medicine at the Texas Tech University of Health Sciences Center, and we caught up with him earlier this week.
So more or less, I mean, we don't have to, do you know more or less, I guess, like when the clinic is expected to kind of start rolling up, or not really?
Well, we're trying to keep it kind of a soft opening.
Yeah.
Our students don't.
We certainly thank him for his service. Congratulations on Texas Dentist of the Year. In the past decade, only 22 of more than 2,300 Texas Dental School graduates have chosen to practice in West Texas. Dr. Black hopes the new school will help with the shortage of dentists in the borderland.
New Mexicans are rejoicing. Tonight marks the return of the iconic Albuquerque International Balloon Festival. From the New Mexico Newsroom. This is the first balloon fiesta in 2 years. Last year's event, of course, canceled with the COVID-19 pandemic. Gorgeous weather for the opening day of the fiesta. Pops of color filling the blue New Mexico skyline. This year's fiesta featuring more than 540 balloons, according to organizers. Thousands across the world visited the Duke City to take in those beautiful sights. And if you've ever been there, you know exactly how gorgeous it is when all those balloons start to light up that night sky.
Absolutely, and as a New Mexican, I could just say that it was difficult for all of us being canceled last year, but it's back, which is great.
It's good to be back. Well,
they say money can't buy happiness, but I'm sure $635 million might help.
It's a start. The current Powerball is now cracking the top 10 largest jackpot, but El Pasoans said they use the money for it. Iris.
And if you're stepping outside, a nice fall evening with temperatures in the 60s. What's in store for the remainder of your weekend and for next week? We'll talk about that with your forecast coming up.
You're watching ABC 7.
Where news comes first.